issues.
Experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, and if
That
they
access.
wanted to move to the facility as out of, let's say, Comanche Creek or out of Tiger Ponds, immediately before notice is given, they would be able. Yeah. Another one?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right.
I got one.
Sure.
Are you surprised?
No.
Okay, so I'm trying to address the issue of like the behind the doors versus public, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is,
I mean, a lot of people, so I don't want to give you, it's not, I don't like Rob, it's, I'm just taking.
no, it's fine, that's fine.
Pandemic setback.
No, I can hear you. As long as I can hear you, I'm good. So my question is, did you have an opportunity to review the document itself that was signed on January 6th
Sure.
prior to the 4th?
So, the answer to that question is, we were told exactly everything that would be in it. And when I read it, exactly everything that was in it, I was told it was going to be in it. Was in
So
it.
there were no surprises for you? No surprise whatsoever.
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
second question.
And we had every opportunity to follow up and ask questions.
Well, yeah, but
In details.
if the document was not available,
If
so
the
what,
document would have been different than I was told it was going to be, I would have said something.
what
But
I'm
I
saying,
didn't, because it was exactly like
okay,
I thought.
but I'm not trying to argue with that.
No,
I'm just trying to
I know,
ask.
but I know-
I'm asking yes or no
No,
questions.
no,
basically.
I know someone else
Okay.
doesn't feel that's true. I think
Well, as you might imagine, Andrew, I'm trying to get to the bottom of that very
Sure.
thing. So I'm
Absolutely.
just asking you the question
Yeah.
from your own personal experience. Did you have an opportunity to read a document before the January 4th vote to approve the settlement? And the answer you gave was you didn't.
No.
Whether it was available or not, you didn't read it.
But every aspect that was covered in that very lengthy meeting that I
Right.
was told would be in that document
Okay.
was in fact in that document.
Okay,
it's like
I understand.
You
I
go
understand.
to buy a mortgage, and they tell me.
Well, you don't
I
need to
need 5
explain. I get it.
points.
The answer is
That's
you were
exactly
you
what
were
it
not
was.
surprised by anything when you finally
No.
did read the document, right?
Nothing.
I'm not putting word. Okay.
So
Now the next question is, do you believe that every council member had access to that same information and had the access to the document or had the same experience you had because they voted without actually seeing a document in front of them that they could respond to? Do you think that everybody had?
Without disclosing who said what, because I can't,
Right.
because it was closed session.
Right.
I can tell you, as a mayor running that meeting,
Right.
we went around the room and asked anybody if they had any questions. We went around the room and asked them if they had any details that they felt were not covered. We went around the room and said, do you have anything further? The city attorney spent a lengthy amount of time detailing out the exact aspects of that, along with the city manager.
Right.
Do you have any questions?
But like,
there
I
was a
can't,
motion,
I can't
there was a
really
vote. And-
depend on that in the sense that I was not in the room, you were, so I have no basis.
No. But I can tell you this: had I not understood what was in the agreement, why be failing at my job to vote for something that?
Well,
and
I
then
know,
if
but
it
like-
didn't match.
But I'm not trying to challenge whether you failed, didn't fail or not. I'm just trying to understand the facts as to whether or not the entire council member had the benefit of reading a document before they voted and it was reported to the public and the press that you had reached settlement. Were the circumstances of that announcement such that there were at least some council members that were surprised when they saw the final document, having established the fact that there was no document presented on January 4th, and at least some council members were surprised when they finally read the document.
Well, I'm sorry if some council members feel that way. They shouldn't have. If they were, they weren't doing their job.
Well, you can't tell people how they should or shouldn't feel.
They should know.
Can
They
I
should
ask
know.
a quick question?
And then to
on the
read.
same one?
Okay, so I think you
Was
answered my
there
question.
the
Thank you.
Was
Appreciate
there
it.
the reasonable impression for those other counselors that the document would come back to them before it was approved?
No.
So it was clear that they were going to approve a verbal presentation.
We gave the
And,
vote was
well,
to
I'm
give
just,
authority.
let me
to
finish.
sign.
So I'm understood. It was clear that there was a verbal approval for a document to be executed without them seeing and signing it, or seeing and reading it.
Well, moreover than that, even, we voted to authorize the city manager and the city attorney to finalize the agreement if it in fact entailed all the details that we had discussed in that meeting.
So you voted to.
If
approve it
everyone
without
had
reading
your understanding,
We didn't say with. I know we want to go on that one particular
No
point. Well, you
written-
didn't read it. You
no-
didn't read it. You
no
didn't read it.
written-
When I read it, it said everything I was told.
But we're asking questions so we can process it in our mind, and you're not answering the questions directly. You're
That's
sidestepping them.
that's.
I think
not
I've got a very
sidestep.
direct question
I
that
think
will-
It's very.
possibly
I told you it's
lead us in the right
Rob asked
direction.
multiple.
So my very
yes and
direct
no
question
questions.
is, the whole premise behind this was,
Yeah.
one, compassionate provision,
Yep.
two, the ability to enforce.
Right.
However, within the settlement agreement itself, it states that an individual cannot be forced to move more than 2 times in a 12-month period. You specifically just said we didn't want to play whack-a-mole.
Right.
So if an individual can only be forced to move 2 times in 12 months, once they've moved there 2 times, what is the city's plan then to enforce?
So I can tell you that we've discussed that issue at length. We do not feel that that's going to be an issue. We've discussed that issue with the judge. I discussed that issue with the magistrate.
Scott Huber himself moved individuals around.
I know. Yes. And that will not be allowed. And if they need to be put
Okay.
into,
So if they
you know,
can't, if they have to
ideally,
move
I
2
do not
times,
want.
hang
We do
on.
not want to get to the point where we're arresting people. Obviously.
But you can't.
But
By the settlement agreement,
okay, your opinion.
if they've been moved 2 times,
Your opinion.
an individual can no longer be forced to move. That's verbatim from the settlement agreement.
Or to put it
That's not an
another way,
opinion.
another
That's
way,
a fact in paper.
Okay.
what he's
And I'm
saying
telling
is,
you,
you're
that's
saying
an
it's his opinion, but
Yes.
tell me where in the settlement agreement we can look to say, yes, I understand that the city has this authority, because it says right here in the settlement agreement that how you're going to
Want me
handle
cite
that.
page and verse?
Well, I mean,
It doesn't
is there
say it,
is there a
Andrew.
place? Is
Gotta be
there?
in writing.
We've read
Is
the
it your
entire
understanding
document.
that there is some place where we could look?
No, it's my understanding that we have every legal authority to clear the parks and waterways with this agreement. And that,
Because the judge said the spirit and the intent of the agreement is.
yes, but I
Okay.
also believe that's in the settlement agreement.
It's not.
Okay. Again, difference of opinion.
That's
Okay, but
not- I'm quoting
Would you
fact.
commit to send somebody an email indicating where in the settlement agreement you're drawing the authority to claim?
Oh, I'm not drawing the authority. The city's drawing.
No, you are.
The city. The city.
You're exactly saying you're representing what you
I'd
believe
be
to be
happy
true.
to have the city attorney do that.
Okay.
Am I a
So-
qualified
so,
legal?
so
You
you
know,
will
I'm
have
not a lawyer.
you will have
so
your
will
you
I
will
tell you exactly how? I can ask the city attorney if he will do that, and within
Can
the
I ask
confines
Okay,
of
so we have a commitment.
Yeah,
You will
absolutely.
you will direct
So-
the city attorney to respond to that question.
Yeah, that
So
question.
I cannot alone direct the city attorney to do anything without a vote of 4 people.
Or would you ask
So,
for a vote?
I will do my very best to get that.
No, that's not an answer. You just
Well,
got to
I
ask
can't
for a
say
vote,
what
man.
3
Ask
other
for a
people
vote.
are
Just-
going to do. I'll ask for the vote.
Okay, ask
I'll
for a
ask-
vote to allow the
Absolutely.
city attorney to respond to the question about
Absolutely.
the enforcement
I'm
authority
happy to do it because I'd like to put it to rest.
One other
Right,
question.
I think
Yeah.
you should.
When the gag order was issued,
Hold on a sec. He had one too.
I just wanted to know your kind of post-mortem of how you got into this mess. Who was giving the advice? that
We
you
don't have
could-
time for that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a freaking
I
history
think that's
lesson.
well known.
Yeah.
I
What
would
was
say
your-
that the previous council
History
took us down a
lesson.
path
How
that
about
was
the
was
advice
awful.
you got from speaking to the city attorney? How about the advice you got from the city attorney that you could roust everyone out of town?
So I can speak to that in a generality. I can't talk about a specific question that was discussed in closed session.
Well, whoever created that cattle drive sure created a liability for the city.
And so let him answer.
So, and again, ask it again. So,
The question is generally
in terms of the original
the
enforcement,
original enforcement where there was nowhere for these people to go.
so because that was not the understanding of the issue. At the time, we had numerous shelter beds, and I even did a presentation on the amount of shelter beds that Chico had. So through the Jesus Center, through the shelter over on the S1A by Rayleigh's, and name escapes me at the current moment, at the Torres shelter, and the various shelters that we had around town. Through
I don't think
other
the
ones.
numbers were there for all the
Not only
people.
were the numbers there, the numbers are substantially higher than every single community surrounding us,
We'll
and I
just
presented that
disagree.
information in February.
We'll just disagree.
So
They didn't want to go
we
there.
can disagree, but actually it's on the state website, shows you that Chico is 10th in the entire of all the continuums of care in the state of California. Chico has the 10th highest, well, Butte County has the 10th highest number of beds in the entire state. And there's, I want to say 47 continuum of care. So
And
we
one of the
ran those
highest
numbers.
homeless rate per capita.
Per capita.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank
Right.
you.
So, another question here.
Sure.
When the gag order was applied, was there a legal motion made to have the gag order lifted to be in compliance with the Brown Act or with the Transparency in Government Act?
Yeah, I wouldn't have the exact knowledge of when that was done or where that was done. I know we made several attempts to allow counselors to speak, like I said.
Verbal attempts. Was there a legal motion made?
I don't think there was a legal motion made, no. We'd know about that, that'd be filed in court.
What's that?
That'd be filed in court. Filed in court.
Yeah, like any defense or any motion
Well,
that.
you don't have to ask me a loaded question.
Well, no, but I
already know
mean,
the answer
like
to that.
he's
No, I
asking
don't
a
know the
question
answer to that
legally.
question.
You know this. Your dad was a lawyer. You and I've talked.
Yeah.
This is a legal process. One of the tools that you have in a legal process when you're mounting a defense is to submit motions to try to get some specific issue resolved, like refining the injunction as opposed to just accepting it or changing some aspect of it, or dealing with some particular legal issue, like what is the minimum requirement a city is obligated to provide under Martin. Like you can have a motion to resolve just that issue without going through the whole trial.
Yeah,
so that's what he's asking.
This is not meant to be an attack towards you.
No, but we don't know
What I'm
about
really
that.
trying to establish is the incompetence of Vince. That's what's really
I
happening
understand
here.
that.
Okay?
No,
Because the fact that we ignored the initial request by the judge, we never filed motions, right, to identify what needs to be done. We never filed motions to lift the gag order. And here we are, now we're all strapped with this financial burden moving forward.
Sure.
That can't be enforced. Again, that's my opinion.
Agree to disagree.
Based on what's in the settlement agreement.
I don't
And
think anybody has much confidence in the city
after having
attorney.
attorneys
understand
review the document,
Sure.
they agree. So whether it's opinion, I'm only basing off the information in the settlement.
Okay.
But again, so multiple times that our city attorney has failed to protect the best interests of the city of Chico. And then tonight we're going to have a discussion about the
Closed session.
abilities of our
Sure.
city attorney.
Yes.
So it's not meant to trap you in a question.
No, I know.
It's trying.
I know, but if there was a gag order, you'd know about it because it would be filed in court.
Do you have any-
Well, there was a gag order issue.
No, but I mean, if there was a city motion against
We
it.
wouldn't.
Well, no, but what you said is
going
also
on.
true. If there was a gag order,
Yeah.
it would be recorded in the court as a court order,
Right.
which has never been done.
No.
So all we know is that you guys are calling it a gag order,
I've
and
never
you're
called it
pointing
a
to
gag
Sean's
order.
interview on Cape.
Never
Hang on.
called it a gag order.
It's been called a gag order by at least 3 different city council members.
Okay.
Maybe you haven't.
No.
But we were told,
believe so.
you maybe you didn't use the word gag order, but you said specifically that
told specifically.
you begged the judge to try to allow you to open the transparency meeting, and he denied you.
Yes.
Okay, my point is, to his point,
That was not a legal motion made in court.
right, and it could have been, and it should have been, by the way, but like there is no evidence that that is exactly what the judge said. We have no way to verify that.
That's your word against nothing.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's not even your word because you had a conversation with him, but you were never attending any of the settlement discussions
Correct.
with the magistrate.
Correct.
And either was Matt Madden, and either was a lot of people,
Sure.
right? And so, like everything that we are saying and everything that you're telling us, you know, because either you have direct experience in closed session or in one conversation you had with the magistrate,
Right.
or you're relying on information as conveyed to you by Vince,
Correct.
including the information about what was in the settlement agreement that you hadn't seen, that Vince went out and signed 2 days later and submitted to the court as something that the council had approved,
Yes.
that they had authorized him to draft.
But I will
Yet
tell
no
you-
council member had actually seen the document.
Okay. But again,
Is that true?
Ask him.
That sequence?
That's what he said.
Well,
earlier.
So it was signed before the city
We
council
were giving-
voted and
no.
approved it.
They were given a brief.
we were told very
A
specifically.
verbal
what would
brief
be
on the
in it.
4th.
We were told very specifically what would be in it.
But
And then
that
one-
was in the text. So the city
We
council
went through
had not.
every single item.
He's just asking, was there a text? Is there a text?
No, there's not.
Okay, fine. That's what he's asking.
There's 45 pages.
He's just asking, was there a document that you reviewed on the 4th? The answer is no.
There's not a document. We reviewed.
Right.
I-
What you
I
did
can
instead, whatever it is you did
No,
instead.
No, you can't pigeonhole it like that. Because if I'm going to sit here and tell you you're getting a mortgage that's 5 points, that is at 2.3.
But I get the document.
You don't need to.
before I
You don't
sign it.
need to
When
make
you
it
get the
elementary for it.
document,
I understand what you're saying.
verify
That's a poor example.
If
all
you
in
get the
writing.
document and you verify it,
I'm not going to sign a document for a,
But it's already
for a
signed when
mortgage
you
without
read it.
something in
It's
writing.
Rob's
It's too late to do anything about it at that point, even
And
if you
it's
did
not
get
too late.
surprised.
it wouldn't be too late.
When did you read it
That's a
then for the
difference of
first time?
opinion.
Chico for November change.
Like, when did you read it for the first time?
Exactly.
Well, was it on the 6th? Was it before the 6th?
No, it was after the 6th.
After the 6th.
Got
So,
something in writing after the
so the
sixth.
point is, at the 6th,
Had it been different than I expected it to be,
Right, what
of
would
course
you-
I would have said something.
But what can you do about it?
You could actually
you
go
already
to the judge and
authorized
say,
Vince to sign the document that you approved. So what are you going to do about it?
Nothing to
The
do.
settlement, okay, again, that's a
I don't mean to
difference,
tag
that's a
team, but
difference of a
you're
legal
doing a great
opinion
job.
too.
No, it's not, because
It
it's
is.
a power
It
of
is.
attorney.
You can actually renegotiate a settlement.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
In federal court,
What's your understanding of how that can happen?
In terms of the actual legal process,
No, not the actual legal process.
yeah,
Any
I do.
process.
In federal court, how does that
talk,
happen?
talk to our attorney about it, or an attorney about it.
No. How? Let me ask you
But
this,
our
Andrew.
attorney has
that
shown
would
himself
be
to be
fine.
very valuable, so I'm sure he'll have a great way for us to combat this agreement.
Yeah, like I want to know what is your understanding as a council member and the mayor of the city
Sure.
to modify a settlement agreement that's been signed by the
That there is a
judge?
path to do it.
What
And
is
I've
it?
been told
What is it? Do you have any idea?
The legal means, the exact legal means? No.
Any means whatsoever that constitutes your understanding of how you can modify the settlement agreement?
You're asking me a very specific legal question that I wouldn't.
No, I'm not. Like you just said, we can modify it. I'm asking, how do you know that? What is it that, on what
I
information or
was told that
belief
not only by the judge, but by the city attorney and by city staff.
that you can modify the settlement
Yes,
agreement?
if necessary.
Okay, would you take that as an item for your city attorney to explain to the public of exactly what mechanism exists to modify the settlement agreement?
Sure.
That's pretty.
And I'm not talking about the fact that the magistrate judge retains jurisdiction to resolve conflicts over the implementation of the existing settlement agreement.
Sure.
I'm talking about changing any of
Well,
the
that's
words.
part of it, because that could certainly
No,
be-
it's a
be
totally
path
different
forward.
thing. Enforcement of an agreement is one thing. Changing the agreement is an entirely different thing.
Okay.
So under
But
what
it
conditions
seems that
does
you're
Vince?
splitting hairs.
No, I'm not. Just
no,
listen to my
I don't
question
think so.
before you decide what I'm splitting.
Okay.
I'm asking you whether or not you know of any way that's been explained to you of how you can change any word, one word, in the settlement agreement beyond what it exists right now.
Okay.
If the answer is I don't know, I got to defer to my city attorney. What I'm asking you to do.
Absolutely have to defer.
Okay, so what I'm asking you to do, would you be willing to bring forward to the
Sure.
council a request for the city attorney to explain in whatever terms he needs? I'll be able to understand the legal argument if he does it that way, that the city has an opportunity to revise the settlement agreement.
Sure.
Okay, all right, appreciate that.
Don't you need two sides to revise an agreement?
Well, we're trying to get their
Agreement.
understanding, like,
You know, the
right.
word agreement means we agreed with them.
Okay.
Now
Good.
you-
All right, guys.
Hey, Andrew, thank you for.
People wouldn't check this.
No, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to acknowledge that. That was very cool for you to stand there and take questions.
More information.
Right on, man. I appreciate it.
You have another question?
Is there